Are you ready to dive in and learn how you can use either ChatGPT or Google Gemini when it comes to your day-to-day life as an entrepreneur? Now, in the last year, I've been using ChatGPT almost every day, probably more than once every day when it comes to asking questions, if I have any queries. And in the last 6 months, I've actually started using more and more Google Bard, or Google Gemini as it's now known, on basically just the quick things that I need to think about. And I want to walk you guys through the actual prompts that I've used, and we're going to compare both just because I've been enjoying kind of seeing both the pros and cons of each one using the same prompts as well. So first, if you've never seen either Google Gemini or Google Bard before, these are basically what the two of them look like. So we have here Google Gemini, we have ChatGPT. Both have really good prompts that you can start with, they can play around with. But as I mentioned, I'm going to walk you through basically my best prompts. So of course, make sure to watch until the end of this video to see my favorite one that I use outside of work. So the first thing that you want to do with both is you want to make sure that you use the WOAH method when it comes to just priming basically the two threads so it can actually give you the more specific thing you're asking it for. So what I mean by priming is you just enter what the WOAH method is, the who you are, what you do, and who you work with, the outcome that you need, asking it, are you ready or do you understand? And the H is for the how, basically. How do you want it to deliver you this thing that you're asking for? So here I'll enter the same prompt for both of I co-found and run 2XU, blah, blah, blah. This is what we do. I need your help in building my systems outside of work. Are you ready? I need you to be straight to the point and willing to build assets. So right here on ChatGPT, it just said, yep, absolutely ready, versus Gemini asked me more specific questions basically on what it is that I need help on. So and of course I like that I can leverage my abilities to generate ideas, craft templates, blah blah blah, so on and so forth. So the first thing that we'll do is we'll ask both Gemini and ChatGPT to create a personal productivity system for myself. So the first prompt that we'll put on here is, can you give me some tips for staying productive and focused throughout the day? My priorities are, so let's list it out here: supporting our remote team, writing my book. So let's say it's that one. I'm gonna paste the same thing here, enter that there. So you can edit that in any way that you want. You can put in the priorities that you actually have. So here ChatGPT right away is writing out like, hey, here are different tips that you can do: time blocking, prioritize tasks, utilize technology, so on and so forth, delegate tasks. And of course here we have time management and task prioritization. So utilize a flexible scheduling system, focus and distraction minimization, specific strategy, additional tips. So it's really cool. I like this part actually, that for each one of my priority, it like gave like, hey, delegate tasks on book writing, set daily writing goals, on content creation, batch content planning. So that's really cool to see from Gemini versus for ChatGPT. It kind of gave us the more generic response. And again, it's always expected for either AI to give you more of a generic response unless you give it very specific instructions and more information about you. Next is then we can continue on with the prompts of, I'll say, thanks, can you give me more specific techniques on managing my time better? I'm working from, so let's put this here. Let's say I'm working from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Mondays to Fridays, except for Wednesday, where I take the afternoon off. And this is actually like my own time schedule. So then again, we're giving the AI more context here on who we are, what we do, and asking it for more ideas on how to be basically efficient in this point. So here, let's see. So for ChatGPT, set clear goals each day of what you want to accomplish. So time blocking here. So it already gave us like a really good schedule. So 10 to 12, support remote team, 12 to 1, lunch break, 1 to 3, write book, and then 3 to 5, create content. So Wednesdays afternoons, prioritize, personal time and activities unrelated to work. So batch similar tasks, use a calendar, so on and so forth. So it gave us a really good step-by-step of how I can start implementing this into my life. Versus, let's see what Gemini says. So time boxing, very similar to what ChatGPT said. Batch similar tasks, use a timer, take breaks, say no. Gave us a little cool sheet basically that we can start using. Again, very similar a little bit to ChatGPT. However, it added a break right here, basically to switch tasks. and additional tips, so on and so forth. So again, really good way. Like if you are very confused on how you can spend your time, you can basically treat Gemini or ChatGPT as your personal business coach, which is really nice. And the last prompt that I do have here actually is to ask it to create your daily schedule. So let me put that here. Use a table. So I asked it here, like, can you create a schedule to incorporate the techniques? So here it'll create a table for us of like, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, support a remote team. And then we have here lunch break, write your book, personal time off. And then at 3 p.m. it says I should go back to work. Looks like it. So on Wednesdays, basically, I presumably I wouldn't be writing. And then wrap up days, review progress. So let's see how Gemini does it for us. So starting off at 9:30, reviewing schedule. 10 o'clock is support team, lunch break, deep work block, basically, and then optional light team support on Wednesdays, and then break and review, basically personal time or deep work. So that's a really good way to break that off. And then we still have content and then review inflection on here. And it did keep in mind that I did say Wednesdays are my afternoon off, versus for ChatGPT, it didn't really keep that in mind. It has this one, but then it still has create content and wrap up and reviews day's progress at the bottom. So that's just a good way to kind of parse and see. And for you, you can start taking action right away based off of Gemini or ChatGPT's recommendation on how you can plan out your day. Next is I have used both ChatGPT and Gemini to basically plan out if I'm trying to learn a new skill. So what I'll do with this is I want to keep this as essentially the productivity assistant that I'll have, and I want to create a new one just for learning new skills. So I'm going to click new for ChatGPT, and I'm also going to click new for Gemini, and we're going to use the same WOAH method prompt. So again, has the background of what it is that I do. The funny thing is you'll notice that both will have different responses, even though you're using the same prompt, but I'll have different responses just slightly, just with the words, just because you did start with a new one. So if you guys remember, this was a little bit different earlier from the example, and this is a little bit different from the example earlier. So here, let's go into learning and self-improvement. So I want to learn a new skill, so I'll insert like a skill here. So let's say that the new skill that I want to learn is business consulting, which is a really big skill to start learning from. I'll put both prompts into both ChatGPT and Gemini. So here, oh, I like it that it already recommended a few books that we can start studying, define focus area, online courses, networking, so on and so forth. And let's see, on Gemini, we have a little bit more specific of assess your skills and your niche, build your knowledge base, and then books and articles to study, gain practical experience, developing your consulting toolkit, and additional resources. So you can basically just combine both for both of the tips on how to be able to get started when learning, but let's add more prompts. So let's say on here, thanks, can you suggest some resources or tools that I can use to learn more about this topic? And then I'll do the same thing for Gemini. So we have mentors to follow, online platforms and courses, the books that we can study, and then the podcasts and webinars as well. So if you guys are the host or the owner of any of these resources, you're being recommended by ChatGPT. Now on Gemini, it looks like the same kind of books that we were recommended from ChatGPT. Now the cool thing with Gemini though is you can click this right away and it'll open it on Amazon or for wherever else you can buy it or grab it from. So that is the main thing with Gemini though, it is connected to the internet. So it can give you more up-to-date information versus ChatGPT is mostly frozen a little bit as of now on 2022. So let's see, trusted advisor, articles. Oh, I love this. I've read that before. 7 habits, how to become, and then the mentors that we can follow. So that's really cool because then you can start looking these people up already with Gemini's help, online courses that you can take. Oh, this is cool. They're a little bit more, again, specific versus ChatGPT where it gave you the more, they're pointing you to the right direction, but not giving you the direction to go. And lastly, let's go into here of that's helpful. Can you help me create a plan of learning and practicing this skill? So we're asking it to basically to create a schedule for us on how that would look like. So week 1 is getting started. So orientation, recommend resources, that article, core concepts. So what books to dive into, so on and so forth. And let's see for Gemini what it recommends for us. So day 1 is 15 minutes going through the Coursera course that it gave us, 20 minutes with the book, 15 minutes going through the podcast. So it gave us like a breakdown of how we can spend. And I like that it's not the full hour. You're just doing this one thing. You're being recommended basically how to break down the hour that you have given it, so on and so forth. So, and it basically says, daily, 30 minutes, ongoing, continue online courses, read chapters from chosen books, so on and so forth. So I really like that comparison between the two. And you can see how ChatGPT breaks it down versus how for Google Bard, how it breaks that down. So I like also, honestly, for ChatGPT that gives you, feedback and narration, build your portfolio, reflection and planning. So this is for fully, if you want to become a business consultant, this is how ChatGPT breaks it down for you, which is, again, a really nice touch. Next is you can use either ChatGPT or Gemini when it comes to your goal setting and just your daily motivation, basically. So again, since this is going to be a different topic, so for me, if I'm going to continue using these threads, basically, I'll just go back to them so I can ask it more and more questions about the skill that I'm trying to learn and get to know of. So let's start anew again, and let's go ahead and use our WOAH method, and let's start breaking down basically our goal setting. Here, let's say I'm struggling to set achievable goals in my life. My current goals are, let's say the current goals are to lose 10 more kilos. Let's say that 20 more pounds, basically. Can you help me with that? So I'm basically turning ChatGPT and Gemini into my own personal fitness coach. So here, they've kind of given almost the same tips. So goal refinement, define your why, set your SMART goals, build your system, break it down, create an action plan, additional support, stay consistent, and then celebrate your achievements. So I like that both kind of gave me really good tips on how I can get started. So let's refine that a little bit better. Thanks. Can you suggest some ways to stay motivated and accountable for reaching my goals? So I'll do the same thing for Gemini. And lastly, let's put on C. So internal motivation, external motivation, build systems for accountability. So the last thing we'll add on here is that's helpful. Can you guide me through the process of breaking down my goals into daily actionable steps? I want to create a habit tracker. So I gave it the last prompt of like, hey, thanks, this is really good information. And honestly, you want to do that and build that up with both ChatGPT and Gemini. Is you want to keep giving it information. You want to ask it to break down things so then it can put everything into a summary for you. So here we have the, start defining your goals into smaller daily steps using the SMART method. So lose weight, measurable, attainable, relevant, time bound. And then for creating the habit tracker, choose a format, list your habits, track your progress, and review and adjust. And then for ChatGPT, it basically gave us the same thing. Let's ask it one more time. Can you create an example of a habit tracker? So on ChatGPT, it gave us really good, there you go. Eat 3 balanced meals, drink 8 glasses of water, exercise for 30 minutes, track food intake, get to 7 to 8 hours of sleep. That's a really good one. So here, let's see here from Gemini. So it created a code for us basically that you can presumably just copy this into a Google spreadsheet. So we have the habits, and then the Monday, Tuesday, all the way to the notes. And then of course indicates completion of habit, the cancel sign is not, symbols. Oh, okay, I like that. Different servings of fruits and vegetables, so on and so forth. So that's a really cool thing that you can start using and experimenting with both ChatGPT and Gemini on how to continue on with your habit tracker. Now, another way that you can use both Gemini and ChatGPT is for your health and wellness. As you guys can see, you can start breaking down things like your recipes, how to plan basically your food ahead, and I've even used it for my grocery shopping. I've also used ChatGPT and Gemini a lot when it comes to my time management. As of now, at the moment, Gemini can't access my Google Calendar just yet, but I can foresee how easily it could transform to that. But I can ask it to give me some tools or apps that I can use for my time productivity. I can use it to map out my priorities and daily tasks. And I've also used ChatGPT and Gemini when it comes to personal development. So more of me learning different skills, whether that's soft skills or more of the hard skills. I've also used them for stress management, of like giving me different tips and different ways that I can unwind or put in more unwind time in my day. I've also used it to add on a little bit more social connection in my life. As a busy entrepreneur, most of the time I don't have time to go out. So I asked ChatGPT and Gemini at one point, like, hey, how can I have more friends even though I'm really busy? Or when it starts giving me like, hey, you can go networking events, you can do X, Y, and Z, I would ask it like, hey, what would be a good one opener line that I can give to someone to start the conversation? So if you're really trying to just brainstorm through, ChatGPT and Gemini are both really good for that. Same thing goes for relationship building. So as you now have friends, or maybe you're in a relationship with someone, you can ask it to be kind of your therapist, which is funny to say out loud, but I've used ChatGPT in that way as well, where I ask it like, hey, based off of this, how can I improve? How can I do better? And I've basically been able to brainstorm that way. There's also using ChatGPT or Gemini for home management, for finance management, for planning trips. I went on a big trip last year and I asked ChatGPT to break down and create an itinerary for me. And of course, continuing more on growing your hobbies and interests. I do have a full list of all the prompts and the list of different ways that you can use ChatGPT or Gemini. I'll put the link in my bio to my Medium blog so you guys can check that out as well. But essentially, the list of the things you can use Gemini or ChatGPT are endless. And the main thing to keep in mind is don't give information that you're not comfortable having it be out in the world. Make sure you only use it as a first draft. Never just accept what it says and just do it. Customize it and make it your own. And of course, save your best prompt so you can share it with other people, which if you have a best prompt, make sure to comment it below so other people can use it as well. And of course, if you guys like this video, make sure to hit the thumbs up button right there. And if you still haven't yet, make sure to hit the subscribe button right there so you don't miss any of my videos every Sunday and Thursday on how to work from home and how to have a business from home, which you guys can check out those two playlists right here and the latest video right here. And if you guys have an amazing day, and with that, small steps matters, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!